Welcome back to Active Vernon. In September 2023, Adventure Girl and I went to Portugal and Spain for our vacation.
We spent the first part of our vacation on the Atlantic coast. The first day in Porto was wet and blustery, and we walked down to the cathedral to pick up our Compostelos for our walk on the Portuguese Camino.
It's a beautiful area, and up at the church you can really get quite a view of everything, and the mood is quite exciting because everyone there is starting their Camino.
The second day in Porto, it was a beautiful sunny day, so we walked over the Louis Bridge over the Duro River, which is one of many bridges that cross the Duro, over to the Via de Gaia side where the port houses are. We rented e-bikes from Ciclo Cycles and rode west out towards the mouth of the Duro River, and then it turns south and there's a beautiful bike path along the ocean. We rode for about 20 kilometers out and then turned around and made our way back towards Porto.
It was a beautiful day, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was perfect. It was so fun. This was our first time on e-bikes, and it was really fun.
We got to see a lot more of this boardwalk and beach over the next couple of days, but we decided to take our time and look out over the ocean and smell the breeze and just revel in the thought that we were there. This is our vacation we planned in 2020 that we had to cancel because of the pandemic. And it was so great just to sit by the ocean, have a lovely lunch, and then continue on our way and go back through town.
Porto, there's lots of the blue tiled buildings, and this is the Bolhal Market, which was just a couple of blocks from where we were staying. This is the start of our walk on the Portuguese Camino. We had to leave our apartment by the 90 stairs that took us down from the third floor down to the street level.
So on the first day, we took transit to Matsosinhos. We'd been to Porto in 2018 and walked the river and part of the ocean to Matsosinhos. So we didn't feel we had to walk that again. It's okay walk, but we wanted to get going on our Camino. So down the stairs and onto the train, and we exited at Matsosinhos, and we had beautiful weather that day for sure. Our first bridge, we had just gotten off transit here and made our way to the stairway on this bridge.
Once we got onto this bridge, we could see people ahead of us with their packs. So we essentially followed half dozen of people or so out across the bridge and out to the ocean.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of people for mid-September.
There was a lot of people right in Porto, around the port houses and the tourist attractions in Porto, but once we got onto the Camino, it did not feel busy or crowded at all. Lots of waves on the Atlantic, good for surfing, not so great for swimming. Beautiful churches on the sea.
Yeah, some birds, some marshes. All the pathways are really great. We were wearing trail runners, not hiking boots, and for the most part, we did pretty well. It was the right thing to wear.
It's really well signed for walking. Lots of yellow arrows and Camino shell signs to follow. I'm not sure if it's as well signed for cycling. There's lots of boardwalk that's been added to the route since we were here in 2018. Some of it has been damaged by storms, as this section is. Some of the boardwalk cycling isn't permitted, and so you would have to detour on the road if you were biking this route.
But yeah, lots of ocean, lots of boardwalk, and as you can see, not lots of people, but a lot of locals.
Yeah, it was really nice to see local people out using the boardwalk and families walking and that. This is a little fishing area that we walked through. Really smelled like fish and the sea, but
there wasn't too many of these little villages close to the ocean, but this wasn't the only one. There just wasn't as many as you'd think. But there was lots of great little places to eat, though.
Yeah, lots of little cafes. This is where we had lunch the first day. Really nice salads. This dog was quite interested in my lunch. No one seemed to own this dog. He was wandering all over the place. These are Roman salt tanks, fish salting tanks. Quite interesting. And this is sunset on our first day in Labruge.
With Jim, a fellow pilgrim.
Following day, we walked from Labruge to Porto de Varzim. It was about 18 kilometers.
Again, another fishing village, and they took the time to decorate a bit, which was kind of cute.
This is off the coastal route, just up to a church and a lookout point.
You can see it's a little overcast. A couple of our days started overcast, but they turned into sun. So I guess that's Atlantic weather.
It's just stunning. I just loved being on the ocean. Another
coffee break.
Little coffee break here. There was a little bit of a shower. We put our ponchos on for about 15 minutes, and then the wind blew the clouds away, and it was sunny and warm again. We didn't even need our jackets at all. This is another section of the boardwalk that's been damaged by a storm, and lots of sand over parts of the boardwalk. And I think we walked for about a kilometer in sand and had to take the sand out of our shoes.
Yeah, a little
really
bit of shaking
beautiful.
sand out afterwards. But imagine the storm to cover these. Glad I wasn't there for the storm.
Lots of pampas grass growing everywhere. Also lots of bamboo. They seem to use bamboo for like a wind block.
Oh, this.
This was so amazing.
They were hand making the cobblestone paths. You know, you walk on them all the time, but you don't realize that they're made by hand and just each little brick banged in.
Yeah. And this is the bridge crossing into
Viana, isn't it? And here we're nearing our accommodations for the second night. Really great little place.
Yeah, it's
2
just
floors up.
Yeah, Prebooked guest house. We stayed here for 2 nights, just so that we could explore the town of Porto de Varzim, and yeah, great little place. We went out for breakfast the next morning and had nice coffee and
walked around the town. In 2018, when we rode our bikes along this route, there was a couple days that we wished we were staying in the town. So when we decided to walk this, we also decided to stay a couple extra nights in a few places.
And now we're walking from Porto de Varzim to Esposende, and it started out overcast and a little showery. Didn't last for long, again 15 minutes of walking, and we had our ponchos off and the sun was shining and it was dry.
The boardwalks weren't slippery. I guess maybe because of the sand. So good traction. There was a number of people running past, locals, so it's just a good place to walk. We were making a big show of putting our rain stuff away. Other than that, it was really quite warm, like 17 degrees or so.
Yeah, 20, something like that.
17, 20 degrees.
And once the sun was out and it was dry, it was upwards of 25.
Sometimes you can see the ocean and sometimes you can't. But and people.
In this part, the Camino route goes in a little bit and parallels along a golf course that's on the ocean side. And then here they're harvesting kelp, seaweed. It had a fairly strong odor as well.
Yeah.
And then we're back out on the sea. We knew this was here, so we brought a shell from home to add to the collection.
Yeah, when we went past in 2018, we didn't have anything to hang here. So when I painted the shells for our backpack at home, I painted one more and we put our name on. And if you see that one, put a comment in down below. Oh, the orange juice, remember?
The orange juice at that place was just the best ever. Absolutely the best ever.
We got into the windmill area. As you can see, there's just a ton of windmills. It wasn't actually that windy for us.
After a short section through the forest, we came out to a housing area, and these goats and sheep were in the field, and these two men came up and called them, and it was feeding time. This is the bridge in crossing the river Cavado to Esposende.
From there, it's about 5 kilometers more to our accommodation.
About that. I thought it was not as far. I thought you crossed the bridge and you were there, but no, you didn't cross the bridge. You cross the bridge and then you've got a long, flat, open walk to get to Esposende. Felt long. It was getting late in the afternoon. It was warm, and so here we are in Esposende and crossing the main street to our hotel, Hotel Suave de Mar. This is where we stayed before, and we really enjoyed it here, so we stayed here again and stayed 2 nights and spent a day just sightseeing around Esposende, and some time at the pool and wading in the ocean.
Yeah, it's a beautiful place. It's a larger town, so there's more resort activities.
This is a little pub across the street from the hotel. So we went for lunch of nachos and sangria and beer and watched pilgrims walking past. And this is a memorial to the men of the sea. Beautiful sunsets all along the Atlantic coast. The next morning we headed out towards Viana do Castelo. After a short section on the ocean, we turned inland. In order to get to a bridge to cross the river Neve, there's only 1 or 2 bridges across that river, so we had to go inland a bit.
Well, it's mostly through a nature park.
And then the path goes into the forest, you go along, and then we go down to the river and then back up out the other side. And there is this sort of signposting and offering. I don't understand. I understand people leaving rocks and shells. I don't understand people leaving maps and parts of the book, John Byerly's book of walking the Coastal Camino.
It was nice to get encouraging notes, though.
The notes were nice. The shells were nice. I hadn't brought poles with me, partly because they can't go in carry-on, and I decided not to buy poles in Porto, so I did end up using Bruce's monopod as a walking stick. But in hindsight, this was a day I could have used poles, 2 poles. This is the bridge, the walking bridge across the river Nevia? Not sure exactly how to say it.
But as you can see, another beautiful day, but we were more in the forests and roots and loose dirt tracks and some gravel roads.
This is at the Castelo de Neva, the church.
And then back into the loose gravel. Do you want to tell us about this?
Not really, but I will. So Bruce was a little ahead of me. We were reminiscing when we were here before, remembering the route, and all of a sudden I was on the ground. I had a couple of scrapes and I twisted my ankle. So we walked an additional 5 kilometers to Chafe, where there was one cafe open, and they called a taxi for us to get to our hotel in Viana do Castelo.
And goodness, that ankle swole.
Oh, it sure did. And so we went to the hospital in the afternoon and had an x-ray, visited the emergency department, had an x-ray, and it was only sprained. Fortunately, it wasn't broken. And the doctor recommended a couple of days of rest. And so we took the train from Viana do Castelo to Praia de Ancora, our next stop, where we were also staying for 2 nights.
So that worked out pretty well. Adventure Girl was healing quickly, but it still needed some elevation and ice. But here in Ancora, we had lovely accommodations at this albergue.
Right across the street from the water. Our room looked right out onto the water. It was really lovely. This is a Lamborghini tractor. My dad had tractors, but never a Lamborghini. And so we spent a day just sightseeing around Praia de Ancora, which was one of the beautiful villages we'd been to before that we didn't get enough time to explore. And then we walked a little bit north and a little bit south, as much as my ankle could handle. It was just stunning. There's a little park along the beach.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous place. And very quiet, too.
I'd go back there in a heartbeat. I believe this is another monument to the fishermen and fisherwomen of the sea.
Oh, and sunsets there. We had 2 really lovely sunsets. So this is still in Ancora. We walked, I guess, south this day.
This was walking south. Lots of these little gecko lizard things.
Just trying to take it easy for that ankle.
Yeah, we had a lovely dinner.
And then another sunset.
And then we took the train from Praia, Ancora to Camino, which is the last stop in Portugal. And
So this is 4 days after you sprained your ankle, and it was greatly improved. It's still hard to get on these trains when you have a great big step and you're carrying a
back and using a cane and have a funny ankle. This was about, a 10-minute train ride to cover 11 kilometers, like that, to the town of Camino. From the train station, we walked about a kilometer to the bank of the River Minho, where we caught a water taxi across to Spain.
Yeah, it's not a very far walk, and you do go through town, so if you need food or drink, it's all right there along the way. There is a restaurant at the, essentially, a ferry terminal, because there's a couple different companies that will take you across to Spain. But I think there's more selection in town.
I think so.
And there's a little underpass to get there, so you don't have to go on the highway.
And this is our boat transfer on Zasabo. It was €6 each. There's other small boats that go across that are a little bit less expensive, but this worked out well. I made a reservation a couple of days before, and they were there right on time. And there was about 8 or 10 other people?
Yeah, not very many. Good little relaxing ride for the ankle, because there was a little bit of walking to do.
Yeah, so that when we land on the other side in Spain, there's 2 options to go into the town of A Guarda. You can either go through the forest over the hill, or you can go around the headland. And around the headland, as we found out later, was flat, but it's 7 kilometers, and this route up and over was 3 kilometers. But
it was rough.
It was rough and a little bit tricky with my ankle, but I managed it.
And you have a little heat patch on your...
Yeah, just help releasing the calf muscle that had gotten quite tight after I sprained my ankle.
I think you did marvelously.
Thank you.
A little bit of... I was expecting a garden gnome, but I don't know what these ladies are.
And we came right out. Where we came right out, there was a sign for the hotel we were staying at, so we got there quite easily, and then we went for a walk down to the water where the restaurants and things are, and had a lovely dinner in the harbor.
The next day,
we caught a bus from A Guarda to Oia, which was about 15 minutes up the highway. The orange that you can see on the highway is the cycling route for the Camino.
This is a lovely little town that we didn't see when we cycled this.
We rode right past on the highway. I don't think we even stopped. But this was lovely. Walk down to the village part, very small village. There's a little store that has everything, groceries, hardware, clothing, and there's a church. There's 2 restaurants and a couple
nicest accommodations we had on the entire trip.
This was just lovely. Casa Puertas, run by the lovely Carmen, and our room had 2 windows looking out on this, one on the sea, one on the town, and then we had a lovely little terrace with table and chairs. We did a little walk, and then I spent the afternoon reading on the terrace. It was quite lovely. This was just a little bit north of Oia, a couple of kilometers. We walked out a couple of kilometers and came back. And this is dinner at one of the 2 restaurants.
Yeah, beautiful little place.
And Carmen tried to help us with we were asking her about the bus schedule, and it looked like it was going to be complicated on the Saturday, and unsure if they were running. So she arranged a taxi for us. So €25 to go from Oia to Baiona.
Where we stayed for 2 nights.
2 nights.
And there was this group, playing for a wedding, I think.
Yeah, there was a big wedding there, and this group was playing outside in the heat in their uniforms, costumes. Baiona's a really lovely spot, and this was the end of our Camino.
So I hope you join us for the second half of our vacation, and the link for that is in the description below.